basically my starting point is dual. Europe is divided, and it's divided along two lines. There is the divide about the socioeconomic issues, basically, and that's a north-south divide. And then there is a divide that has recently emerged over the migrant crisis, which is an east-west divide. And so I was interested in what do these divides do to the European project. It's not easy to contain. And especially I was interested in the fact that on the first divide, the economic, financial crisis, the Eurozone crisis, the Central Europeans more or less sided with the North Europeans. They saw with some suspicion the lax financial fiscal policies of the southern countries of Europe. However, on the migrant crisis, they asserted themselves very strongly. And my question was, is this good news? So now Central Europe is back. But it is back in not always very flattering guise, because it appears, at least in the eyes of West Europeans, this is where one has to stress, this is about perceptions, as backsliding on liberal democracy, rule of law, independence of judiciary, independence of the media, such things, and as bringing back a very hardline nationalist posture vis-à-vis the migrant crisis, and that then combines with yet a third issue, which is a hardening of identity politics and what has become known as culture wars. So this is where we are at, a very abstract reading of what Europe stands for, human rights and obligation to welcome refugees, and the very protectionist reading. And my attempt, so to speak, is try not to find a third way, but simply being dissatisfied with both positions and trying to work out my own. The idea of an open society is part of the liberal, if you want, paradigm. You have institutions of the rule of law, the separation of power, you have market economy, and you have an open society, a civil society. And these three elements are interconnected. So to some extent, if you say part of our legal and moral obligation is to welcome refugees, yes, it is part of an open society that is capable of integrating others. But my question is, under what terms? Liberal society does not mean you don't have norms, you don't have rules. Who are we? If we want to integrate somebody in our society, and we have that obligation, somebody is drowning, you have to rescue him. But you may also have the right or the duty to tell him who you are and what are the European societies that they're going to integrate in. And we may start by saying, well, we separate religion and politics. That's liberalism. We believe in the freedom of speech, including criticism of religious figures, religious leaders, what have you. You don't like it? Go to court. We believe in the equality of men and women. We believe anti-Semitism is unacceptable because we know where it led in World War II. Welcoming others into our midst is an exercise in self-definition. And that is very important, because that doesn't mean just proclaiming human rights. That is very important for defining what is a liberal concept of Europe, which entails an open society, but which is not just a free-for-all, which is not just assisting somebody in dire straits, but it is trying to tell others who we are and into what kind of society they will integrate. for me that is important because that is the only condition, not only for the newcomers to integrate, but it is mainly the main condition if we want to stop the nationalist populist challenge to Europe, which is bragging about open borders, refugees, the threat it poses to identity and to Europe. If you want to oppose that, you will not oppose it just with vague slogans about human rights. That is an imperative in an immediate situation. If you want to have a long-term political answer, well, you have to perhaps do some of the things that I have suggested.